What is up, fanatics, fan guy addicts? It's your boy Josh Fan Guy coming to you with, I believe, Week 8 action of NFL. We're going to be hitting on my quick picks today for Draftkings. I'm going to be giving you my top quarterback, running back, receiver, tight ends, and defenses for the week. If you need more extensive, detailed coverage, that's going to be happening tomorrow's edition, where we're going to recap each matchup in more detail. But today we're just going to hit the highlights, and I'll give you a list of my favorite players at each position. This week looks to shape up as an interesting one, as I believe most of the best plays are actually the most expensive plays. And if I know that sounds like common sense, but if you follow the show, you'll know that that's not the way I operate normally. Last week, Latavius Murray and Josh Jacobs were two of my favorite picks. They were only valued around $5,000 each, which is very cheap, and they both turned out really big performances. So I'm not always going to be hyped up on the expensive players, but this week is going to be a tricky one to navigate in DraftKings because realistically, the best plays at almost every position are the expensive ones. I think DraftKings got their pricing right this week, better than most weeks, and they didn't really leave us a whole lot of gaps where we can exploit some cheaper, better plays. So we're going to start with quarterbacks, and our first quarterback we're going to talk about, just to give you a quick hit, my top 6 quarterbacks this week are Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, Jared Goff, Josh Allen, Matthew Stafford, and Drew Brees if he plays. Russell Wilson's obviously the most expensive quarterback of the week. He comes in at $7,200. Love his matchup against Atlanta. I think he's good for at least 2 touchdowns in this one. My worry is that if Matt Ryan doesn't play, they pull a lead early and run the ball. So that's the risk you're running with Wilson. Deshaun Watson also has a great matchup against Oakland that just got shredded by Aaron Rodgers for 6 touchdowns. He's $7,100. My big issue with Wilson and Watson are their price tags. They're very, very, very expensive, but I do think that they are going to return that value to their buyers. So I think you can't go wrong with Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson this week. They're both fantastic plays. They're just very expensive. My top quarterback play of the week isn't even that much cheaper, but it's going to be Jared Goff, playing against the league's worst Cincinnati Bengals pass defense, ranking dead last in the league. If you remember, I called Jared Goff having a good week last week after his atrocious week the week before, and sure enough, he came through. He didn't have a Aaron Rodgers-esque day, but he did give us a very serviceable 25 points for his price tag. Now, I do like Goff a lot this week, but you're also going to see that I like Todd Gurley a lot this week. So I'm going to be staggering those two on lineups because I don't really know which one's going to get the action. I expect them both to have pretty good games, to be honest with you. But I don't like stacking running backs and quarterbacks. So, that's the risk you're running with Goff, is that it becomes a Gurley type of day. Josh Allen playing against Philly, the 5th worst pass defense in the league. Josh Allen's going to get some work done on the ground. He's going to get some work done through the air. We're going to be talking about one of his receivers that is my best value play of the week, which is going to be John Brown, but we'll get to that in a second. I love Josh Allen this week. He's got a fantastic matchup at home against what looks to be a very vulnerable Philadelphia defense. Who else did I like? I liked Matthew Stafford. We'll go down the line. Drew Brees. If Drew Brees plays this week against Arizona at home, Drew Brees is going to light them up. So I like Drew Brees even coming off of an injury if he plays this week against Arizona. His price tag looks great. He's even cheaper than Josh Allen. And let's not forget he's still Drew Brees. So love Drew Brees if he goes. And finally, Matthew Stafford. Now, this all has to do with Kerryon Johnson being hurt. Detroit is going to become a pass-first team again because of their injuries. They no longer have their stud running back. He's out for the year. And that really is going to affect this offense. So I expect Matthew Stafford to be a phenomenal play, not only this week, but I think his value is going to go up significantly for the rest of the year as a result. Matt Patricia likes to run a run-first offense, but this week I just don't think it's going to happen and in the future. So I love Matthew Stafford. He comes in at $6,100. He is the cheapest quarterback I like this week, which is pretty wild. I normally can at least come up with somebody I like below that, but all of these other cats below that have terrible matchups, except for whoever QBs for Pittsburgh against Miami. Whichever quarterback that's going to be, which it looks like it's probably Mason Rudolph. He might have an okay matchup, and he's only 5,300. But realistically, I'm not going below Stafford this week at 61. That's my quarterback picks. Running backs, the highlights, I'll give you my top 6 running backs this week. It's going to be Dalvin Cook, Leonard Fournette, Todd Gurley, Chris Carson, Le'Veon Bell, and Marlon Mack. Getting into a little bit of detail about each of these. Dalvin Cook, love his matchup against Washington at home. This is a game with Thielen out. I do think you're going to have Josh Norman shadowing Stephon Diggs. Kirk Cousins has looked really good the last few weeks, and I do think he's going to look good the rest of the year. But this is a game that I think Minnesota gets a lead pretty quickly in, and I think they're going to lean on Dalvin Cook most of the day. I think Dalvin Cook has a huge day. Unfortunately, he's 8,700, which is just a ridiculously high salary, and it sucks because I really think he's going to have a good day, but there's not a lot of values to find at positions this week. So if you're going to play Dalvin Cook, you're going to have to really dig deep for some of these really low-value guys and get lucky with them. Leonard Fournette, same exact thing, except he's actually 1,000 less than Dalvin Cook. He's got a matchup against the Jets, who have been pretty vulnerable to the run, actually. They have a very good pass defense. That offense has run through Fournette this year. He's looking really good. He's getting a ton of volume. He's involved in the pass game. 7,800 is still very expensive, but I think he has the same kind of day as Dalvin Cook, maybe a little worse, but close. And he's 7,800, so a little bit better value there with Fournette over Cook, but they're both fantastic plays. Gurley is only a little cheaper than that at 7,400. I really wish Gurley was a little cheaper than this. If he was in the 6,000 range, anywhere between 6,000 and 7,000, he would easily be my favorite running back of the week. I love his matchup against the third worst Cincinnati Bengals rushing defense. Again, as I just talked about with Jared Goff, we don't know which way this is going to go. This could be Jared Goff with 4 touchdowns, and 2 of them could go to Todd Gurley. So I just don't know, but I do like Todd Gurley a lot this week. Chris Carson, 7,000. Man, they're killing me with these salaries. At Atlanta, as I was talking about with Russell Wilson, I feel like Seattle, particularly if Matt Ryan is out, is going to get a quick lead in this. They're going to lean on Carson if they do that. And so I do think Chris Carson is actually not the worst play this week at all. Worth noting, Rashad Penny is healthy, which is going to cut into his load. So I'm not as big on Chris Carson this week as the other guys I've listed, particularly because he's still 7,000. Moving down, 6,900, Le'Veon Bell against Jacksonville. I think the Jets know they're going to have to run this offense through Bell. Darnold looked really bad last week. And while I do think they try to get his confidence going a little bit this week against the Jalen Ramsey-less Jacksonville, whose secondary is still good, but not as good nearly as it was, I definitely think Bell's volume, trumps everything here. He's going to get a ton of touches in this game. The offense should run through him, and I definitely predict a pretty good day for Le'Veon Bell. And finally, Marlon Mack against Denver. Denver's very tough to throw on. I did say Brissett would look good last week. He did. I don't think he's going to look as good this week. Denver's pass defense is very good. Denver's rush defense, however, is not. My only worry about Marlon Mack, as you can see, is he's just not that involved in the passing game at all. He has gotten 3 targets each of the last 2 weeks, which is actually a step up for him. But I really wish, especially in a PPR format, that Marlon Mack would be a little bit more involved in the passing game. So those are my top 6 running backs this week. As you can see, they're all over 6,000 as well. Even Chase Edmonds is 6,200. I mean, they have Eckler way down here at 59. Now that I'm looking at it, I guess you can make an argument for Eckler at 5,900 just because of what we've seen. His rushing attempts have gone down, obviously, since Melvin Gordon has come back. However, he's still getting a ton of pass down work. So we'll have to see how that goes. Next is going to be wide receivers. Now, I actually have, I believe, 9 or 10 wide receivers in this one that we're going to be looking at. Quickly, I like DeAndre Hopkins, Michael Thomas, Cooper Kupp, Tyler Lockett, Kenny Galladay, John Brown, DJ Chark, Allen Robinson, Calvin Ridley, and Cortland Sutton. So kind of getting into everything quickly because we have a lot of receivers we're going to talk about. I'm trying to keep these videos under 15 minutes. D-Hop, I love his matchup this week. Hate his price tag. He's 8,100. Michael Thomas, same situation. Now my caveat with him: if Breeze plays, I think Thomas can return 8,000 salary value. But realistically speaking, I'm not going to have too much of D-Hop or Michael Thomas on my lineups this week because they're so freaking expensive. That being said, they're both phenomenal plays. Cooper Kupp at 7,500, also overpriced. However, since he takes away usually not slot guys, they usually really cover well on the outside and are pretty vulnerable over the middle, which is where Kupp does his work. So I think Kupp is in line for a good day, getting a little cheaper now. Tyler Lockett, I think, is almost guaranteed to hit pay dirt this week against Atlanta. I think Tyler Lockett is a slam dunk play this week at 7,000. I still don't like his price tag. So now we're getting and I do, because the running backs I like are so expensive this week. This is the receivers I'm going to be playing on most of my lineups are actually going to be some of the ones I'm about to get to. Kenny Galladay, 6,400. Yes, he's expensive, but as we just talked about with Matthew Stafford, I believe they are going to be throwing the heck out of this ball. So I'm actually going to put Stafford and Galladay on this particular lineup. That's going to be my stack. I do think Galladay. Yeah, I called Marvin Jones last week, but this is a little bit different. New York doesn't cover number ones as well as I forget who they played last week, but it was somebody who covers number ones really well. Minnesota maybe. And so New York's going to be very vulnerable to the bigger bodied, Babytron. Also like John Brown. John Brown, 5,900, one of my favorite plays this week. Going up against a very vulnerable Philly secondary. He's got Josh Allen chunking the ball 60 yards downfield to him. I almost will say John Brown's going to get a touchdown this week as well. It's almost written in the books. DJ Chark I like this week against the Jets. He has good relationship with Minshew. The Jets have looked vulnerable. They have a pretty good secondary, but I do like DJ Chark for 6,000, considering the guys I really like are just so freaking expensive. Allen Robinson, 6,000 as well, right there with Chark. I think he's a fine play based on volume. It looks like Trubisky's going to look his way a lot. Casey Hayward is playing, I believe, which does cut into his volume a little bit. But I definitely do like Allen Robinson in terms of value-ish. Now without Mohamed Sanu in Atlanta, if Matt Ryan plays this week and he is healthy, I do like Calvin Ridley this week. That is my caveat there. Matt Ryan must be playing. But if Matt Ryan does play, I really like Calvin Ridley this week for his price tag, 5,600. He's taking a step up in terms of their target share. And the last receiver I like that I'm going to put on here is Cortland Sutton. The reason I like Cortland Sutton, quite honestly, is because it's the cheapest receiver I like. He's 5,300. I don't really like any receivers that are cheaper than him, which is insane. There's usually someone down here I can reach for. Maybe you can go think Jamison Crowder is going to get a ton of value at 4,800 with Sam Darnold in there, and maybe turn in the 10-plus targets that he got week one with Darnold. But I'd like to note that last week he only got 5 targets. So that was a far stretch down from the 17 targets he got week one. Emmanuel Sanders in San Francisco is also playable this week at 4,600. So keep the Sanders in mind as well. Moving on to tight ends. Tight ends I like are Darren Waller, Austin Hooper, George Kittle, Evan Ingram, Derrick Henry, Hunter Henry, Gerald Everett, and Vance McDonald. They're also all the very expensive receivers. For me, I'm going to go with Hunter Henry this week. How many targets did he get last week? Yeah. I like his targets, man. He's been getting some targets. And so I put Hunter Henry, Evan Ingram, and Waller all into the same kind of category. And so I'm going to go with the cheapest one, which is Henry, on this lineup because I still have to cut some fat somewhere. So those are the. I'm trying to keep the video short, but rest assured, Waller, Hooper, Kittle, Ingram, and Henry are probably the five top tight ends in the league, other than Kelsey. Kelsey's value is going to depend highly on whether Patrick Mahomes plays. We don't know if Patrick Mahomes is playing. Not to mention Kelsey's price tag is really high. So is Kittle's. So I would stick to either Darren Waller, Austin Hooper, Evan Ingram, or Gerald Everett this week. And finally, defenses. I'm not going to talk about the Patriots, okay? They're on a freaking record setting pace. They're playing Cleveland at home. Yes, I think the Patriots are going to have a good day. I almost think that goes without saying. So I'm going to say it just so, hey, guess what? The Patriots are on a record setting pace defensively. They're also 4,300. And on this particular lineup, I'm looking at my prices. I have 5,300 average per player left, and I still need 2 expensive running backs. So no way I can afford the Patriots. I also like the Steelers, the Vikings, who are 4,000 and 3,900. They're the next 2 most expensive defenses. The cheaper defenses I like. Oh man, the Rams are on there too. Okay, the Rams. So I like the top 4 defenses this week. The Saints at 3,500, little cheaper but still very expensive. And then, so I actually really like the Packers this week. If Mahomes does not go, I think the Packers defense could turn a pretty good effort in KC. I firmly believe that, in fact. And the Seahawks, but that's going to depend on if Matt Ryan plays. So, I also like the Seahawks at 2,800 if Matt Ryan doesn't play. They're insisting he is going to play, so we'll see how all that shakes out. So in this particular lineup, because I'm trying to keep it super cheap for now, I'm going to pick the Seahawks. It's going to leave a 6,200 average for running backs. Whew, that's rough because I don't want to play any of these guys. Oh yeah, okay. I actually like Devonta Freeman a lot this week. I should have mentioned him on running backs because I'm about to throw him in here. I like Devonta Freeman. I like the fact he's going to catch a lot of dump offs if it's Matt Ryan or his backup playing, and he's cheap. And that's all I can say. He's cheap, and he's actually been doing good the last few games. Well, last week not so much. But he turned in great performances before that, and I definitely think he's going to bounce back this week. So now we actually have a little bit to play with for this last spot. Going to go with Gurley because I think he's just a killer play this week. And we're going to round out our – oh, man, I'm not going to go Calvin Ridley and Devonta Freeman. Yikes. This sucks. I don't want to play any of these guys. I really don't. I really don't want to play any of these guys. And they're all people I already have people on the teams. So I'm going to have to think about this, but I want to end the video before it gets to 20 minutes. So, yeah, while I figure out this last flex spot, those are my favorite plays this week. I hope it helps you out a little going into tonight's matchup. I'll have more time to get into more analysis tomorrow. We'll get a little bit deeper into everything then. But thanks for stopping by the Ultimate Fan Guy today. I hope you learned a little something. If you liked the video, drop a like or some comments down in the bottom and let me know how I'm doing. Much, much love. Thanks for coming by.